You are listening to United Public Radio Network, UPRNTalkRadio.com, 107.5 New Orleans.
Hi, you've got to listen to ICAR, that's International Community for Alien Research, www.icar1.com. I should know, I'm Irish.
I can't talk. No, it didn't.
Are you alright?
Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans.
Welcome to Don't Whistle at Night podcast, where Navajo legends echo in the shadows. Darren and Dawn will guide you through the sacred fire of native storytelling, where the old stories breathe, the unknown walks among us, and voices, long hidden, rise to be heard. And remember, don't whistle at night.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
Was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out a reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, you know. Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. All right. What are you people doing? Welcome to UFO Undercover. Jay, what are you doing? You're breaking up like something fierce, man. What is it?
Oh, let me change my mic again. Damn it. Hang on.
Jay's losing his mind. Anyway, welcome to UFO Undercover, everybody. I hope everyone's having a good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in our big, beautiful blue ball. You know, a lot going on in the world these days, and a lot of UFO stuff going on these days. Frankly, I haven't seen anything yet that's changed anything, but it is nice to hear them talking about it. I got to say, it's nice. I keep hearing all these new people coming out of the woodwork all over the place. I had a guy the other day telling me about ufology, and did you know this, and did you know that? Then he's telling about alien abductions and why he knows all of this stuff, and how come he's right. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah. So how long have you been doing this? Oh, I've been doing this 5 years, man.
5!
So I said, really? He said, well, how long have you been doing? I said, I've been doing it 43 years. He was like, whoa, wait. I said, you don't look that old. I said, I started when I was like 3. I said,
yeah, I got 41 years in. I started when I was 8.
The thing of it is, guys, it's what was it, Gene? Oh no, I thank you for the compliment. No, I'm 60. Sorry.
I'll be 60 later this year myself.
It's it's not like the old days. So yeah, we talk about this all the time. We'll talk about this more on Friday if you want to. But when I was a kid growing up, if you were 50, you looked like you had one foot in the freaking grave and was ready to die. Now you look at 50 people walking around hot, sexy, 60, looking good. I mean,
look at Bill Shatner. Hey Google, how old is William Shatner?
94 and 95.
93, yeah.
94, I think.
93 or 94. But he looks like he's 78.
Yeah, when he was 78.
He looks like a 78-year-old. I'm honest to God.
When he was 78, he looked like he was 40. And he's still doing stuff. Oh no, dude, he attends conferences. He just did a new album. No, I'm not listening to his album. Rob, don't even go there. I don't want to disrespect William Shatner, so we're not listening to his album. I'm just not into the kind of music house. That's like, you know what he's like? Slow motion rap.
No, he's not even that good. Yeah, no, I mean, he was featured on a record called Golden Throats, him, and I think even they got Montgomery Scott, Jimmy Doohan, and Spock, Leonard Nimoy to pop a few songs on that album. It's not good. The man can barely act his way out of a paper bag, but he does it with flair, and that's why he's good.
Hi, I'm William Shatner. Do you know where your wife is right now? Oh, wait, did I say that aloud? Oh, shit, sorry. No, I love William.
That too soon?
Was great. Bill was great. What is he, 4 wives, 5 wives? Boy, he's been through some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like 2, 3 of them died. I mean, I don't know if I was a woman.
Well, but basically, when he landed Star Trek, he was broke, out of work, just divorced his first wife, and was living out of his truck. And I believe he had custody of his first daughter from his first wife. So he was a single dad, homeless, shelterless, workless, jobless, and he nailed Star Trek. And
he only got Star Trek because he did. Now I can't remember the name of it. All the weird stuff went on Twilight Zone.
He did the Twilight Zone first.
The one when he's in the airplane, which was pretty good. He did look a little racked in his brain. I mean, he's like, anyway.
Well, yeah, he overtopped that one, and everyone thinks he's actually did a better job on that story than the one that John Lithgow did. I like John Lithgow. I think John Lithgow played a better, more insane person. But anyway, he did that, and that movie was filmed directly on the same property on the back lot of Paramount, where what's her name, Lucille Ball had her studios, and so Twilight Zone was filming there. Gene Roddenberry had his offices there. He was writing for Star Trek, and that's how he came across almost every one of the guest stars on Star Trek. As they walked through Twilight Zone talked to Rod Serling first, and then came out those doors and
Yeah.
walked into Gene Roddenberry's office and got onto his show.
If you
So it was
were
kind of like a revolving door of guest stars for both shows.
If you went to the weird and strange back then, Rod was the place, the guy to go see. Curtis, no, Jack, we're gonna bring our guest on. I just didn't pop in just a minute. We're gonna bring him up here. Hey, Curtis, see you down there, man. We know you're there. We can see you now. Jesse, we'll be doing. So we've done 4 weeks on the new disclosures, and I hate to waste a lot of time on it. First, I've already been in giving testimony myself, so it's a different thing for me. I look at this differently than most people do. But more importantly, most of what I heard, except for what came from the military pilots, I have to question. Garash, I got issues with. He's a spy. He's second, third-hand information. No, Gene, I'm not saying he's lying. I need a little more proof than he told me 75 UFOs fell out the sky and we got a bunch of aliens. Come on, guys, it's been coming a long time.
At that point, you're not a witness, you're not an eyewitness, you're not even an expert witness, you're just a reporter.
But he
didn't find that information on his own, though. It was given to him in a folder, and he read in
Gene,
a day or a week or so. He read all this stuff.
I'm gonna tell you this like I tell everybody I've ever met. You can listen to whoever you want. You can read whatever books you want. There's a lot of good books out there. There's a lot of good ufologists out there. A lot of crazy ones too. But in the end, you have to do your own homework. You have to get out there and get into your own research.
You can't take it on anyone's word.
You gotta be able to verify what people say. I run right now. I run the largest UFO research organization in the world by far. But it's you gotta get. Look, when I got in this field, I thought one way. 43 years later, I can tell you I think a whole different way. But anyway, I see our guest down there. We don't want him to be listening to us yapping. Hey, Todd, Mr. Curtis, how you doing? Dr. Curtis, how you want us to address you, babe?
Todd's fine.
Okay, well, I know people work hard to get them DRs in front of their names.
Yeah.
Indeed. In fact, it was a doctorate in aviation risk assessment. So, I should know what I'm talking about.
It's interesting because I got a bachelor's in advanced avionics and advanced electronics. And then first I spent time in the Navy getting it hands-on. And then I went to school after I got out. It was so funny because I went to Delta College. I said, okay, I want to come get my bachelor's. That's what I was doing in the Navy. The dean looks at me, he goes, I will send you a test. So can you take it here? Can you hear today? Can you take it while you're here? I'm like, sure. I take the test. Next day, he said, I want you to come see me. I walk in. He goes, you want a job teaching? I'm like, what do you mean? He said, Joe, you know more than almost everybody on my staff. Hands-on experience, that's why. I've been doing it. I was in the field doing it. Of course I knew it. But I wanted, it's still, you want that degree. You might as well get it. You got all that education. You got it to risk assessment. You must, I imagine that job had some headaches involved.
Well, let's just say that through the course of my career, I've had some interesting situations where I was in the middle of it, not exposed to the risk, but trying to figure it out so that other people didn't get exposed to it. Some cases easier than others.
Well, I appreciate people like you because I was in a lot of hairy, scary places when I was in the military, and I was glad somebody was doing risk assessment because I probably would have made it back without it. We used to they would send us anytime we would be off boat or doing particular jobs. We would get a thing that would come in with a blue envelope. Everything was trimmed in red because it was top secret. And it was a risk assessment on the upcoming whatever we would be doing. Whether it was something to do with special forces or we were doing something with the pilots or something in between. You just never knew. Or if it was just a let me rephrase this, a simulated combat mission with the whole fleet. I tell you what, you'll probably appreciate this. So they had 4 aircraft carriers out there. All this, we had 140 ships sailing around, right? I mean, everywhere. I still remember this captain gets on. He said, he just stops in the middle of the fleet. He goes, I'm reading the risk assessment. He said, okay, all you people on each side of us just leave and go home. He said, y'all are creating a problem. Leave. I'm a lone lieutenant at this point. I'm thinking, what? You just say half the fleet on. What are you doing? 4 aircraft carriers out here. But he was cracking up because when we finally got to see the assessment, and I got top secret clearance, but it clearly said the way the perimeters were set up, if for some reason something popped up and ships had to break to protect the carriers from incoming missiles, the outside ships would have trapped them inside, and there would have been collisions all along the outer skirmishes on the side. And you know what? He was right. Whoever did the assessment was right. If they would have had to go into full combat or any type of full, where they were kicking it all the way up to engines, the other ships wouldn't have been fast enough to get out of the way. And carriers are way faster than people think they are. For as big as they are, they can get every rolling. And they have no problem mowing over a battleship either. So it was great. I really have real appreciation for what you do. So, but what got you into all of this, into the UFO world?
I'll tell you, it's real simple. The government of the United States pissed me off one day.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And that day was in October 2006 when the whole Chicago O'Hare thing happened.
Oh,
I heard that a few days later, and I read the story in the Chicago Tribune. I thought, this is nuts. Whatever this was, I don't care who or what was flying it. This was like such a huge violation. This is like 5 years after 9/11, right? You would figure
major.
There would be some kind of official reaction, even if
big
they said,
response.
Yeah, even if they said we don't know, I would have been satisfied. But there was nothing. TSA, FBI, whatever 3 and 4 letter agencies you can think of, no public response to this. And I thought, this is,
Yeah, it was nothing either. It's funny you bring it up because one of the guys, way we fund the organization is through, we're not a 501c, so we can protect our information. 501c would have to give it to the government. Now they would have to take it to court to get it. But anyway, some of the sponsors that help sponsor calls me and says, Joe, why don't you go to Harvard in the morning? I said, I'll go now if you want. So they actually, by the time I was packed in, they had a ticket waiting for me at New Orleans International. I was in Chicago at the airport in less than, 2 hours, 3 hours. So we were on the ground. We had a team with us. We called everybody who could. I couldn't even get the local PD to go on record. They were like, well, we got a report. I'm like, a report of what? And it was just a report of some silver thing in the sky. And I said, I'm looking at the picture. It looks more than a little silver thing in the sky to me. And the guy said, oh, well, no, that's whatever it is, it's gone now. So I'm like, and there's a reporter standing there for the local paper. And I looked over and I said, do you realize we just shot down one of our own jets over 9/11? And we just had something just hover over one of the busiest airports on the planet. I said, do you realize the implications of this? If that would have been some type of drone packed with explosive, you could have lost several aircraft. And at least the Cub reporter made an attempt to put it into the living section, what I said. So that was nice. Other than that, there was nothing. It was like crickets.
My comeback to the non-response was, if I were, fill in the blank, sitting somewhere trying to do harm to the United States, they'd read that story and say, all I have to do is make whatever I'm doing look like a flying saucer. I can waltz up to any place in the country. Nobody's going to touch me.
It's true, too. It's weird. Like with the Stevensville sightings, and the thing was headed to George Bush's ranch, and there was also a flight of F-16s out that night. Well, this thing was actually seen on radar, and I found out what it is now, but regardless, somehow or another, in some cases, I think the government's aware of what's going on because Stevensville has a nuclear power plant in it. And then you've got this monster aircraft just cruising along and right through restricted airspace. Just matter of fact, the whole entire flight was from somewhere in East California all the way up to the ranch and then turned back and went back. All of it was restricted airspace. You got a squadron of F-16s in there. Wouldn't you have just said, call the squadron, say, I need to divert you here? And if they don't have enough fuel, Texas is a big state with a lot of Air Force units in it. Because those kind of things make me crazy. And then I was invited to go to Stevensville, and I found out the truth. I'm at this big bonfire with all the witnesses, and they're talking. And the guy said something to me. I said, well, what else? Anything else? He said, oh, yeah, there was chase planes. I said, chase planes? He said, yeah, chase planes. I said, like you see with the shuttle? He's like, yeah, like you see with the shuttle. And I was like, well, then I got to thinking. And then the other guy walks up, he said, it had these weird rivets that ran down the center and across the top. I said, rivets? And I just looked over at the lead guy from MUFON, and I said, you call me for rivets? I said, you're kidding me, right? So I called a friend of mine at work. She's a lead scientist at Door. I've been doing it for decades. I still do it. I called her and I said, baby, this is what's going on. She said, oh, no, Joe. It was actually the Aurora 4. She said they were just testing it. They know between there and George's Ranch, nobody's going to bother. It's all protected airspace. I was like, really? She's like, yeah, she saw you do your name of them. She sent me a copy of the thing. And some of it I could share because it was not really classified. And some of it was unfortunately really classified. But still, you know, our government is aware of all of this. And even now, think of it, Todd, they just let all this information out. How much more do you know now?
Well, it depends on how much you knew going in, because my spin on it, you know, the video stuff they let out, but they said, okay, we're going to redact everything. The location, the speed, the altitude, everything. We'll leave it up to you to decide. Well, decide on what?
Yeah. On what?
Now, the documents that were released, most of which were historical in nature, those are more interesting because, if nothing else, the government has officially said these documents are real. Now, whether they were real or not, I'm not about to say, but assume they are real. Well, now they've been acknowledged as being real, and we can move from that. And some of them had some witness testimony from cases that are relatively new that I don't know about. And that's interesting in that you can compare that with what's being seen right now and maybe draw some parallels, which gets back to, you know, why I got just not ticked off at the government. Why did I have any sort of sustained action in this area? And I thought, my expertise is digging through all sorts of incidents and accidents to figure out what happened and to prevent it from happening again. And bottom line, unless you know what the hazard is or understand the hazard, it's pretty hard to do a risk assessment. So I set out just trying to get some basic information. What's out there? And yeah, I heard the story, saw the stuff on Discovery Channel and that sort of thing. But it was like a slow, burn trying to find anything I can sink my teeth into. And then come 3-4 years later, Leslie Kean had her book about UFOs, generals, and pilots, and the rest of the title, which was fascinating because she had witnesses, she had documents, she had programs that were in place here and elsewhere talking about this stuff. So that was heaven to me, because it's like, if I can find something that's official, I can at least base what I'm thinking off of that. And Leslie go ahead.
What was it? I wasn't saying that. I was listening to you.
Well, 3 years later, I was doing my website thing since '96, and I started doing some UFO related things around the time that Leslie wrote her book. And so I set out trying to call her and email her saying, hey, maybe I can get her on my podcast. I did this with everybody who seemed to be sensible and had a head on their shoulder. And Leslie actually did say yes. And in 2013, I had a nice conversation with her. It's still on YouTube.
Nice lady.
She is very nice. And, I re-looked at that in the last year or so. And I thought to myself, are there any major issues we talked about that I have to change? And about the only thing we'd have to change is say UAP instead of UFO. Otherwise, what we're talking about then is just as relevant now.
I'm still not happy with you. I just don't like the way it sounds.
It's a silly thing.
It's not important. It really isn't. But it's one of those things.
No, I disagree. I think the three different words do make a difference. UAP indicates it could also, you could put unknown atmospheric anomalies in there as well. UFO indicates an object, a device, a thing in reality there, not like a weather, not an orb, not a light ball, not a lightning ball, not a sheet lightning, none of those weird things that you don't hardly ever see in nature. UAP implies all of that. So it can be nature, it can be artificial nature, it could be an artificial craft, it could be a natural craft. It implies everything. UFO is specific. It's an object. It is a specific device.
Now we have both words. I mean, both actors.
I'm totally on board with that. However, the U.S. government isn't, because when you look at the NDAA in 2022 and 23, which basically laid out what the definition of UAP is that's being used by DOD and the intelligence community, it's object oriented. It's like object that does this, object that does that, transmedium object submerged. It's like it doesn't include effects that are not related to an object.
Yeah. The one thing that UAP does that UFO doesn't is that you can now, in my opinion, bring in crop circles. Because in my opinion, crop circles are done by some sort of energy wave, something we don't understand. Whether it's an artificial energy wave shot by aliens from outer space, or it's a conglomeration of energies from the inside the planet that just happen to make natural physics.
Like Dr. Chaos's chaos theory?
No, I absolutely do not. Energy and sound have patterns. They all do. It's all wave patterns. All energy is waves. My dad was an expert in sound. I'm not, but my dad was. But I think it's something like that. It's just this energy that goes, and it does something to the nodes in the grains. It folds them over in a natural way, or done by intelligent design with some sort of ray or energy beam that does that. I don't think that you can call it necessarily alien in nature, because it's the strong possibility is that it's a natural phenomenon.
Now, let me give you an example from an actual government file. One of my favorite places to look for interesting incidents is the Aviation Safety Reporting System, NASA system that they do for the FAA. And a couple of years ago, I decided to look for UAP/UFO stuff, because they actually had a coded variable for UFO. I'll cut to the chase and say, in my initial search, I found 13 events which were straight up was not a regular aircraft, and would be a UAP or UFO. And I'll just give you one example. 2 pilots were flying. I think it was a small twin-engine commercial aircraft. They said a flat black bar flew directly over the aircraft, and afterwards they had all sorts of instrument problems which disappeared after a few minutes. Now, they had me at flat black bar. It's like, okay, you can have a flat black bar flying, usually dropping, not one that's sort of like maneuvering over an aircraft, and certainly not one that does all this to an airplane. And there are other things in there. And let me fast forward. Through the use of AI, and I'm not going to promote any particular one, because if they were to give me money, I'd mention their name. But I thought, let me take this AI stuff and see if I can make sense out of it. I took the 13 I found, and I basically said, look through the wording that people use, because look, if there's no official definition for it, people will describe something extraordinary using words other than UAP or UFO. I said, here are the 13. Use the words they described here. Do whatever you do for large word searching, and search the entire ASRS database for something. Now I got 32 of them. 34. I found another one the other day. And some of them weren't your typical things, but if you're talking about effects that make no sense, here's another record that I saw in there. 2 pilots are flying an airliner, and they see some shadow above the aircraft. Then something comes down and strikes the wing of the aircraft. It left like a dinner plate sized dent with a really deep dent in the middle. Now, they were flying, I think it was 39,000 feet. Not above the level for bird strike, because the highest reported bird sighting is on the order of 60,000 feet.
How many shuttle instruments were there?
Would it leave that kind of a dent shaped like it did without any bird residue? Now, was it something, from another world?
How many shuttle instruments were there?
But it's an unknown phenomenon that definitely had a potential impact on aviation safety. In my umbrella term for UAP, I include things like that. Things that just essentially, things that can't be explained that are happening to the aircraft. Effects on people, infrastructure, or the aircraft. And then there's indirect stuff. Like one of the other ASRS ones was about a glider pilot who basically had a close encounter. He and his passenger see something zoom at them from 5 miles away in just a handful of seconds, forms up off his left wing, hangs out for a little while. They both get a good look at it. By the way, the pilot had a phone, but he did the right thing. Aviate, navigate, and communicate. He kept the phone in his pocket and kept flying the plane back to base. His backseater, first time ever in a glider, says, hey, there are 2 more coming. And I didn't explain this. It was like some 9-foot-tall thing with a couple of appendages, not aerodynamic at all. They both got a good look at it. They both sketched it out. 2 more similar things come from above, join the first one, zoom out to the west. Now, this is 2015. I don't know of anything that can fly like. Fast forward, I actually interviewed him on the podcast I'm on, Flight Safety Detectives. And he talked about essentially the psychological effects of having this thing close up on top of him. And I thought, it doesn't matter that this was a UAP. If you were flying a plane and something came at you at Mach 2, zoomed up off your wing and zoomed off again with 2 of its buddies, that might freak you out.
A little bit.
And at that moment, I thought, PTSD doesn't matter if it's from a UAP or from a P3 or from a kite. If you're flying and you have something that freaks you out like that, that could affect your ability to continue to fly the airplane, or could scare you out of the industry. that is a risk that should be addressed.
Well,
UAP
it should be. Well, most they don't talk about this, but most military pilots are actually addressed usually within their third year of flying about unidentified flying objects. I've never met a pilot, and I've met a lot of pilots because that's what I did.
You work on an aircraft carrier, you would think.
Well, my first year, I was a shooter on an aircraft carrier. I was the guy launching the jets. And then after that, once I got promoted from enlisted to officer, I was working with them all the time. The thing about it is, they will tell you what they say, and they will tell you it freaks them out. The Navy will tell you you have to make a report. Once you make the report, you forget it.
And I'll bet you a good bit of them, half of them probably preface what they tell you with, "Hey Joe, don't tell my CO, but," right?
It's funny the way it worked. I mean, they wanted to know, but then they didn't want you talking about it to anybody else.
Yeah, and they didn't want you to tell their CO. I'll bet you half.
You get in the line shack though. No, the captain wanted to know. Oh no, the captain.
I want to know. Yeah, no, the captain definitely does. But I mean, I don't know the procedure all through. I mean, it may be different boat to boat, port to port, but from what I understand, most pilots are grounded for a short time after they report such UAP UFO things.
No, not then. They would report them, and then they would that was it. They would go. They'd go on about their business because it happened way more than people realized. While I was on the Nimitz, the Nimitz got buzzed. The Nimitz got buzzed at least 9 times. I mean, at least 9 times when I was on. And I know
pilots are afraid of such actions. I would imagine. I mean,
I know veterans that say it was a monthly thing. They would buzz the
yeah.
I know I had friends on Enterprise that said a couple of times they just came and hovered over the boat. She said, "We're launching jets," and they're just hovering up there. And the captain's like, "Well, screw them. They keep launching jets, and they're just hovering up there, saying, yeah, just watching them." You know, I'm thinking, but nobody took a shot at him. I gotta say, being that it was the military and no one took a shot, I was impressed. Because really, I mean, the things above you got all kind of missiles and lasers on the boat. I mean, nope, didn't even try. I guess maybe somebody already knew, or maybe the captains were under different orders. But it was very funny because, I interviewed 25 of the Apollo, Gemini, and Mercury astronauts. Every one of them told me they saw something. I've interviewed more than 80. I'm sorry, make that 100 shuttle astronauts now. Everyone told me they saw something odd. Even this one lady, I wouldn't even call her a real astronaut. She was more like a chemist. And she's telling me, she said, "I'm up there doing my thing, trying to figure out why my hair's like," and she goes, "I look over at the window and this thing's just sitting there." And I called the captain. I said, "Cap, what's that?" He turned around, looked at me, he said, "So I can't use the language, but it's that kind of UFO." And they instantly, so they got tape of that. I talked to Jeff Chandler about the tape they got of whatever that was. It looked like it was shot out of Queensland. Have you ever seen that? The STS 47?
The one that looks like, there's a puff of something and something changes direction?
Yeah, so this
STS 48.
Well, so somebody got smart and AI enhanced it now. So it's clearly some type of beam. It's clearly some type. There's no doubt. But we also know about Pine Gap. We know about the HART facility. We know that they HART facilities beaming stuff through the ionosphere, and whatchamacallit using the dishes to catch some of it and then send some of it back. So we don't know what the hell they're sending back and forth to each other, or what they're using to punch holes in the atmosphere with. We just know they're doing it. So these guys, some people think they're building some type of new weapon system because when
it's already built.
Well, when Reagan, now it is. Yeah, well, now it is. But when Reagan said something about invasion and that's what would bring us closer and all, that week, the HART facility in Pine Gap were put into work. Now, Pine Gap is admittedly the Joint British Defense of Outer Space. That's their job. And it's not rocks they're talking about. They won't tell you anything else. Then they tried to lie and said they closed down, but we got a hold to 2 years worth of manifests where they were ordering bringing 7 people in and out. We released all of
them. Well, I mean, but it's also not just British. It's there for monitoring, relaying, and assisting NASA and European space agencies.
It's in Australia, and no Australians allowed on the base.
Yeah,
they're not even allowed on it. The poor guy. The second time that guy flew into the base, they gave him 10 years. The first time they let him go. The second time they gave him 10 years. They said it's getting out of here. So you have these. Well, when you look at the angle and you take the way the Earth is spinning, the shot came from somewhere in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
The facilities
and look, I may not be an expert in sound, but I am an expert in motion capture video and film. And NASA's explanation of the STS-48, particularly that small segment where the reaction control thruster fires and the ice particle zooms off, is I can't say it on this show, but is absolute bull honkery. The perspective that, I'm sorry, Todd, I would, another show, I would curse really bad on that one because it pisses me off, just like the government pissed you off, how they explain this video. I'm not a physicist. I'm not a space rocket scientist. My father was, but I wasn't. I'm just good at science. And I am an expert in film. And the object that zooms off and the object that appears to be the reaction control thruster beam comes from the Earth, doesn't come from the space shuttle. The angles do not line up, number one. Number two, and where the space shuttle camera is, this is the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Camera technology wasn't that great, so it's not a great camera, number one. Number two, the thing that they're looking at is so far out of focus, and there's motion blur to it. You don't, if it was a frost particle up close and it was going that fast, the motion blur would make it a line. It wouldn't look like a disc way off in the distance. So
you don't even need all of that. The thing changes speeds. It changes speeds 3 times. That's all you need to know. No puff of air is going to make it. Oh, I'm sorry. No puff of what they use up there. Hydrogen peroxide is what they use for thrusters. It's
any person who's ever watched a Star Wars, Star Trek, any kind of good science fiction space battle movie with a good imagination and absolutely zero science background would absolutely agree that it's not a space ice particle this close to the space shuttle.
At this point, it doesn't really matter. There's been so many people who viewed it, and so many scientists that have looked at it. It's not a huge one. I mean, there's other things that have been shot up. There's lots of videos from the STS missions.
Oh God!
And then there's the astronauts in the space station. And the stuff
right.
they said
they've been there for what, 25, however many years? Over.
Yeah, 12. I think you're right. I think it's like 25 years or more. It's been there a while. And they've seen,
if Gemini 4 can be up for 5 minutes and see 3 things, they've been up there for 25 years. You think they've seen a few things?
Well, one of the cosmonauts,
maybe.
Yeah, well, one of the cosmonauts stuck his foot in his mouth. He goes, "Yeah, we got an emergency move the station." But she says it's not uncommon because there's debris all over the place, and sometimes they move the station. He said, "So we're moving the station, and this thing's moving with us." And you could tell you could tell he was excited about this. He's like, and I'm telling them it's moving with us. And he's like, so they because you can't just stop a big, huge thing the size of a football field. You got to gradually slow it down. So they start slowing it down like as fast as they could to try to move it back the other way. He said, finally they get it going the other way, and it stops and goes back the other way. He said it came right up to the window of the station and just went up, went over, and left. He said, No, he said no. He said it had lights on it outside. And he said it just came right up to it. He said it got close. He said to him he thought it was almost touching. He said it just lifted up, went over. And he said you could just see it. You could watch it through the other windows, and it went back down. It didn't jet off. It just kept on coming. He said it was nice, consistent. He said it was exhilarating and chilling all at the same time. He said it scared the bejesus out of him. And then, like 2 years later, I got to do some interviews in Russia, and I was doing an interview. I met the guy. He goes, "Yeah," and then they told me 2 years later I can't talk about it, or a year later they told me I couldn't talk about it.
I've heard of things like this for years, and my take on it is, all right, I had a very short career behind the fence in the intelligence community at the NSA. That was my last Air Force assignment.
Fun.
And it was fun. It was very, very illuminating. It was, my contribution was minimal at best, but I kept my mouth shut and eyes open and ears open. I learned a whole bunch about intelligence. The biggest lesson was really, 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 really good stuff is out there in the open. You just got to know where to look and how to look.
It's true.
Yeah.
And
the other good thing about it, you'll find out about the intelligence and the intelligence community. They're not really all that intelligent. What they do is very sneaky, but once you see through it, you know how to get to the actual truth, because they like to put a full falsehood, an actual truth or fact, or even sometimes evidence, and then a sort of semi, mom's tale myth on the other side of it. So you have to pick between. It's like a shell game, and once you can see it's a shell game, you got it.
Yeah, that's some of them.
One of the places where I've had some success at finding official government reports of things that make no sense whatsoever is in FAA air traffic controller reports. There's a particular kind of report called a mandatory occurrence report that they have to write for certain things that happen, altitude violations and whatnot. And I found a few that had a UAP flavor to them. One of them was from December of 2024 over the Midwest. The same report talked about 5 different airliners discussing some things they were seeing at a great distance, at a great altitude, doing cavorting or whatever. And these 4 different airline crews reported seeing it. There was a 5th crew. One of the pilots there said, I didn't see this thing tonight, but I see what you're describing just about every week when I fly through here. So it's not just, commercial.
Actually, there's also a 6th crew. The crew on the unidentified. Yeah, the unidentified crew. They're seeing us. So there's the one report we don't get.
Yeah, you don't know. It might be a drone, man. It could be a drone.
Might be a drone.
I'm talking about an alien drone. I wasn't talking about one of our drones.
It could be an alien spacecraft.
See, and that's another problem with today. So when I got involved in this field, there was no such thing as our drones. Today, we have drones that look like everything. They get misidentified, and then they got people who are intentionally making drones that look like alien spacecraft.
Now
they got a guy in Arizona got busted. Okay.
That whole thing in New Jersey and in New York State, in 2024, everybody was reporting whatever. I saw the stuff online. I saw it was mostly trash, and I thought, okay.
It is.
I got this one resource that the FAA comes out with. Every quarter they update it, and they call it now the Drone Sightings Near Airports database. I've always nicknamed it the Drones Behaving Badly database.
Yeah.
It's flying too close to the airplane, flying too close to the airport. But I thought, let me just look November, December for New Jersey and New York, go through what was officially reported, mostly by airline pilots. And if I see anything weird there, I'll believe it a whole lot more than you two. Well, there are like 40 different reports between the 2 states. Nothing really outrageous. It was like the garden variety drones behaving badly. Alphabetically, New Jersey, followed by New York. In between is New Mexico. They had exactly 1 report. And at the end of going through the 40 or so, I thought, I might as well look at this New Mexico thing. That one was the one that I ended up following for like 6 months, doing a deep dive report on, presented a paper I co-wrote at AIAA a week or so ago in San Diego. And it goes something like this. 767 flying to LA from the East Coast. Late at night, clear night. Very nice night. It was like the Saturday night before Christmas, the 21st of December. And somewhere
nice and crisp.
Nice and crisp. Somewhere east of Santa Fe, about 80 miles east of Santa Fe, they reported that, and I'll tell you how they reported it later, reported 25 drones in all directions, which are cruising at 34,000 feet. That doesn't make sense. And there were 4 of these drones with red and white lights that were essentially in a loose formation for 61 minutes around the aircraft.
And they're at the same level?
Same level,
all the same height,
same ground speed. They kept up with it in formation, loose formation. Closest one got to within 1,000 feet.
7 miles up.
7 miles. And they were a steady 420 knots ground speed the whole time. Now, fast forward and say that I went wild looking for FOIA reports and anything I could on it. I got a mandatory operations report, mandatory occurrence report about this, way more detailed than the Drone Sightings Near Airport database. It gave me the flight identifier, how long it was, where it was heading, etc. And I was able to use commercial sources to find out exactly which aircraft it was. Tail number was a Delta 767. But the thing that got me was the FAA officially said these were drones. They were pacing an airliner for an hour. Now, there's only a handful of these 4 drones. The other 21, they didn't say what they were doing, but these 4 were like rolling along with it.
It was going 700 miles an hour.
420 knots ground speed.
Which is 420.
Way faster than almost every drone out there, with the exception of your Global Hawk type of jet powered drones. There are some out there.
The fastest drone, I'm not sure if you're aware of drone history. The funny thing is all these people like, oh, the Ukrainians are experts on drones. The Iranians are building great drones. We came up with that first with the A-12 SR-71 Blackbird program. When they started flying those in the late 50s, early 60s, they had 3 drones that were launched autonomous. Well, I think 2 were remote control operated. 1 was autonomous, but D-21, D-24, and D-27. I don't remember the exact numbers, but 3 different style drones. They were all scramjets, so they had the 71 had to be going like near the speed of sound to get these things to even start their engines, and they would be launched off not the belly, but the top from between the chines, and they would fly a figure 8 pattern behind the SR-71 as it kept on its path. And then it would fly back to a base or to another plane and connect, and we would get the data from it. This is 1950s, late 50s, early 60s. So anyone who's an expert with drones, it's going to be the U.S. military and the industrial complex.
Well, even the U.S. military, I was not able to find any acknowledged program where drones could do the following.
Yeah,
for an hour.
As far as I know, we've only got 1 drone that can fly above the speed of sound.
X-47A or B, whatever the name.
Wait, I retract that. No, I forgot about the Air Force and Navy's new drone. So the Air Force and Navy has some wicked new drones out, and for the F-47 comes with a package of 3 or 4 drones with it built to it now. It's a drone, and it probably does about Mach 2.5, Mach 2.8. It's a badass. That's so far advanced, it's not funny. But other stuff, usually most drones are 300, 500, 200. Depends what we're using them for, but they're rarely over 550 miles. They don't like going. They like to stay subsonic because the faster you go, the more things break.
Well, if there was only one of them tracking this airliner, I'd find it believable U.S. military. But 4 of them, again, I don't know of any program that has 4 being able to either autonomously or remotely do that sort of thing. And here's the big question. We know we have a whole bunch of test facilities, secret and not secret, out in the West. There are plenty of places where this could have launched from. Who would be crazy enough to fly something that's unacknowledged up next to an airliner with blinking lights on it that's being openly reported over the airwaves and not risk their career or being running, in Leavenworth or something?
I guess if it was out near Area 53, it could be the supposable tall lights. They keep a. Now the government's actually admitted to it, but they're not going to say who it is. But so Charles Hall broke this, 30 years ago.
1970s.
He was a weatherman. He was a weatherman on the base.
I read the book. Fascinating.
And I'll tell you this: I do voice stress analysis, and he underwent voice stress. I will say this: he believes everything he says. Now, I cannot tell you everything he says is absolutely true because I would be lying to you. I've been able to find some connections. I've got 4 state troopers who said they have seen him, a couple taxi cab people, some people that work at some casinos who said they have seen him.
He has the benefit of 2 things. He's a very nice gentleman, and he's a storyteller. Not a fibber, just a storyteller. So some of his story is embellished 100%. But there are really good tidbits of facts, and almost every one of the facts about the tall whites, as he calls them, and I think he sometimes called them Arcturians, as they say where they came from, it has corroborative evidence through external eyewitnesses from Las Vegas, Reno, and other places around.
There have been 4 enlisted men came forward and also said
yes
that it's true, but still, I mean, I hate to be like this, but to be so skeptical, but it's even with all those witnesses, it's hard to still say that we're letting an alien race keep a base on one of our bases in the United States.
Essentially, a truck stop.
It's a stopping point. It's a hangout.
No, really, Todd. It's true. We were making fun of it the other night, and it's like it's a Love's for space travelers. Love's truck stop.
It's just, I mean, the way they describe it is what it sounds like. And then, because the first time I talked to this guy, he said, "Oh, they went to Vegas to gamble." I'm like, dude, really? What are you smoking? I mean, really? You're telling me these big, super tall, 7-foot aliens walked into a casino and went gambling? Yeah,
but not just the like some of them go gambling, some of them go shopping. So sometimes they go to Reno, which is also in the same area. Reno is actually closer to where their base is than Vegas. Reno's up here, their base is over here, and Vegas is down at the bottom. But then they also apparently they have a basketball court with 12-foot tall or 13-foot tall basket hoops, because they're like 8-foot, 9-foot tall people. So they have an outdoor basketball center. They have indoor recreational centers that are like carved into a mountain, and then there's like roll-up doors or carved in doors that look like the facade of the mountain, so they can close it off to anybody scrying overhead. Essentially like the S4 facility, but they have this whole place for repairing their vehicles, refueling, resting, eating, shopping, gambling. It's like south of the border for space travelers. If you've ever driven the I-95 corridor and you wanted to stop at south of the border, it's exactly what it is. You can get your fireworks, you can get your space gun toy, you get a bunch of fireworks, get your car fueled up, and some food. You can go home. It's awesome. It's a great place.
Now, before we go into what alleged aliens do for fun out in Vegas, I want to relate one thing about that 767 that I found very strange. Okay, let's say you two are flying your airliner and you see some jackalope flying next to you who shouldn't be there. Your first response might be pick up the microphone, call air traffic control, and say yada yada yada. This crew didn't do that. They use their ACAR system to send a message down to one of the ground support people. Don't know which one. The ground people called Albuquerque Air Route Traffic Control, and then Albuquerque sent out, hey, be on the lookout for these things that are out there. I'm thinking, that's a waste of time. If you're a pilot and you think there is a real and present danger of somebody unauthorized,
it would be an emergency, right?
You would put it on. Now, I know that everything's being recorded, and probably no one wants to be on YouTube with their voice saying, hey, I see 25 things out here. But that just said to me more than anything that this was not a drone. If it looked like a traditional aircraft, they wouldn't waste the time putting it on ACARs and having somebody else, a third party, be responsible for warning everybody.
No, because the insurance companies can flag pilots for reporting UFOs. You can lose your damn job. At the very least,
you lose a license. Yeah.
Well, I know pilots that have been suspended for up to 6 months, waiting evaluation to make sure they haven't been doing drugs or alcohol or something.
Yeah, and if the flight surgeon, especially if you're in the military, if the flight surgeon thinks you're psycho enough, they can pull your license to 5 period.
Yeah, but just in regular, because they don't care in the military. They want you to report.
This is one of the reasons why I'm approaching this, in spite of my expertise in aviation safety and risk assessment. I'm approaching this more as a marketing challenge. That is, we have an issue here, which anyone who looks at it rationally would say, hey, there's a potential hazard. But we also have a whole lot of cultural baggage out there. So it's a whole big marketing thing about the gatekeepers when it comes to the insurance company, when it comes to the people running the safety management systems within organizations, when it comes to the regulators, when it comes to the pilots. I mean, the reason I like ASRS is that it's an anonymous system. NASA is very, very good at keeping people anonymous. So one of the things I'm always pushing is, look, if you see something, flight attendant, pilot, ramp rat, I don't care. You are around aviation, you see something that you know is weird, shouldn't be there, send it to ASRS. Or even if you don't want to do that, sit down and write it out. Document it for your own benefit. If you don't feel comfortable in sending it outside, it's not going to help for you to keep it bottled up inside. At least put it on paper or whatever.
You bring up a very valid point also about the nature of it. Number one, I think you'll agree with me because you wrote a paper on it. It's a physical hazard. People can die if they crash into these unknown things, and almost instantly, especially since Joe and I are of the opinion that if they are extraterrestrial, more than likely the materials they're made out of are much stronger than any material we have here on Earth. And so a plane flies into an energy shield, flies into a exotic metallic craft with no energy shield, that's a PSA. If these objects were drunk flyers flying around, there would be a national campaign on the televisions and the streaming sticks for drunk flying or flying hazards, but there isn't. And I think part of the problem is They don't think it's real. And you mentioned the recent Chicago incident. We talked about this a few weeks ago, Joe and I. I don't remember so much if it was during the actual incident, but I know certainly afterwards when they tried to analyze, what was there. A lot of people saying, "Oh, what if it was a military, hallucination hologram type of thing?" Trying to test out some new technology. Well, when the thing left the area, it cut a physical hole in the donuts. Unless that was also a hologram, which I don't think the military would have been that, clever. The thing cut a physical hole going through the clouds on a cloudy day, going straight. You could see the sun and blue sky, and everywhere else was gray cloud. So that's a physical object. It's not a hallucination. It's not a hologram, and it's not a figment of someone's imagination. It is an actual device floating over the airport that if a plane, particularly when it comes out of the clouds, it doesn't pick it up on radar because it didn't come up on anyone's radar, and hit that over the airport, there would have been a shower of blood and bodies and debris all over that tarmac.
That maybe. So it might have been just disintegrated.
It's a real physical hazard. I don't think even the U.S. government wants to acknowledge.
Because it's not a real hazard. No one's ever been hit or killed. This has been going on for hundreds of years.
Here's the argument I make about that. Most of the accident reports that you see in NTSB and these other international organizations are not big time events with airliners with hundreds of people. It might be a onesie twosie, some pilot, does something and crashes. I've seen way too many reports that are something on the order of the pilot lost control of the aircraft for reasons that can't be determined. Okay, well, if you have a Cessna flying in the middle of nowhere, you don't have a black box, you don't have people shooting videos from inside the aircraft, you don't have a live radio transmission saying, "Oh my God, I'm like losing control, I just went into a spin." So the investigators are left with a smoking crater and not much else. And that's about all you can say about that. So
what was it? The Lear, what was it, 2 years ago? The one that went straight up and straight down? Went straight up near the Learjet, came straight back down, right smack in the middle of the city and crashed.
This is the one in Philly?
That was the one with the doctor and the kid and somebody else on board.
Yeah, it was a registered aircraft. So the Mexican government has to, and entities in Mexico that ran the airport had to supply information for the investigation. I don't know if there's been a final report there, but there's going to be difficulties with getting a thorough final report simply because of the nature of the ownership and the oversight of that aircraft.
Because it was probably sketchy, yeah. I agree, it was probably sketchy. And then there was the one the year before that where the Lear took off in Miami, was going up to Chicago and just kept flying. Well, it lost atmosphere, it killed everybody on board, and it was on autopilot. Just kept flying.
The Green Steward event?
Yeah, I think the one that just ran out of gas and fell out the sky. They said
probably hit an ocean somewhere.
They said something happened and they lost atmosphere, and then the plane was on autopilot, so it just kept flying towards its destination and then it passed its destination and fell out the sky.
We also have a story from the 50s Joe and I have talked about.
Don't go back that far. We don't go back that far. It's too far.
Well, I don't know if Dr. Todd knows about it, but I mean, he's doing expert work on air threat UFO risk. This is something he may not know about. So in the 50s, and I don't remember which model, F-89 or F-90 Saberjet, and I forget the pilot's name, out over the Knoxville, Tennessee air corridor, allegedly was scrambled to intercept and possibly shoot down a UFO. And when he got on station, I don't remember exactly whether he was shot down by the UFO or he collided with, but his plane was found mangled away from his body, which was found similar to cattle mutilations. Certain parts were expertly incinerated off. Yeah.
It's not consistent with a normal plane crash.
Not a normal plane crash, no.
But that's the thing, isn't it?
That particular one. But that would have been a military investigation?
Yeah. Oh, if you Google it, you'll find all kinds of stuff on it. It's still speculative, top secret. But if any of that information comes out with any of these UFO dumps, I wouldn't be surprised. I honestly think that the Air Force scrambled this poor gentleman to intercept an unknown, and the unknown didn't like it. When he got too close, they shot him out of the air.
Well, if it's and I might be speaking out of turn here, my vague understanding of how things work. If it's a military investigation, we'll be lucky if we get a one-page summary, even for a garden variety. Mostly, unless you do a FOIA report or you happen to be an insider, you're not going to see it. Second, let's just say that if it was an operational loss, it wouldn't be considered a Class A accident. So there wouldn't be an accident investigation.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's they're all I know is when anytime anything odd happened when I was in the service, planes fall. Because I hate to say it, fighter jets just fall right the hell out the sky sometimes for no reason at all.
Mm-hmm.
They just cruise along, Mach 2, whoop, oh,
it's a sudden gust of gravity. I'm convinced.
I don't know what it is, but it happens, whatever it is. Like my first day on the Nimitz, the damn guy was taking off and ran into the conning tower, blew up the F.
Oh God!
Shit flying everywhere. Killed.
How can you run into the conning tower?
He took a hard left or hard right.
Because whoever was running the catapult didn't secure there's a double loop in the catapult. He didn't secure the loop. So when the plane took off, he hit thrust of the catapult's pulling, and about halfway through the pull, the catapult just let go because there was no more tension on it. And when it did, one engine must have a little more thrust than the other because they just pulled that way and went right, and right, just bam. It was insane to watch. I've actually seen missiles hit. Conning towers are tough, I'll tell you that. I've seen missiles hit. I've seen other planes hit them. We had a
that fighter jet looked like a crumpled up Coke can, and the conning tower just got a chip on the paint.
The carrier deck's got to be one of the most dangerous places on the planet. And people are nuts. It's but anyway, getting back to
you stood on one. Who are you calling nuts?
Well, I am nuts. So, but getting back to our original topic, keep it on topic. When you look at all these airlines out there who are reporting them, and I have talked to a lot of airline pilots, and they want to come forward. And there used to even be a section in the government used to have a section where you could report it, but now they don't want them because of the insurance people. They just don't want to report it. They just
here are several things going on here. A, where can you if you're an average pilot, where can you report something you won't get into any trouble? The one place I can guarantee is going to be ASRS. They may not publish it, but like I said, I found 34 events that smell like a UAP to me inside the ASRS, some of them done by airline pilots, so they can always go there. But do they know they can do that? Until about latter part of 2025, the official instruction given by the air traffic organization, air traffic controllers, is if a pilot reports a UFO, they gave them two options. Tell them to send it to a civilian UFO agency or local law enforcement. The latter is ridiculous because even if I'm flying my Cessna, I can't see that far, but if I can see something 10 miles away, there might be 5 different law enforcement agencies.
Yeah.
If I call them later on, 4 of them will probably cuss me out, and the other one will hang up in my face.
This is just a weird example, but my wife and I were coming back. We were on the Gulf Coast gambling. We decided to stop at the beach. We seen something weird burgling around in the water, and it was 2 state troopers. You know how they park, like they're sitting there talking at the same park.
Yeah.
So they're just chatting, doing their thing. And my wife says, that's something in the water. And I'm thinking, but they do have whales and stuff in Gulf. I'm thinking maybe it's just big, And I'm watching, you see this thing starts lighting up green. I'm like, I don't know if that's actually really, it was crazy for us. We seen it come up. It just came out the water just kind of was running off, and it was almost like a blimp in a way, like bubbled out of the water, and then just kind of to drift until it crossed over the beach where we were, crossed over the highway, and then just kind of went down the highway on the beach. And you see both troopers get out the car. They got cameras going. They got the cameras in the car rolling, and they got cameras taking pictures. And the dude said, "Well, we'll get all your information." I said, "Cool." I said, "I actually do this." He's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah, we weren't planning on seeing a UFO tonight. We were out camping."
What happened to all them pictures? Where can you see?
So wait. Let me finish. So this was 30 years ago. Well, guess who just retired? Both state troopers just retired. So. And they're not the only ones. I had 4 troopers retired this year that are witnesses. 2 in Vegas that are going to come forward on the show and talk, and these 2 guys. So
cool.
But he said himself that he had seen some other weird stuff. Now, can I tell you it's an alien? I want to say it because I don't think we have anything that can come out the water and do that. But
I don't think you can say for him. He should let him do it.
The cops think it's alien. They listen to the shows religiously. They definitely think it's alien. But and I would have to make an assumption. I just don't like making assumptions. So whatever it was most interesting. And after that,
cool.
From that point forward, every car we owned after that had a camera inside on the dash on all the time. And it has got things over the years. In Swamp, it's picked up weird stuff. thing out there where MUFON freaked out because they told us, maybe you should leave, Judd. It sounded like it's getting a little rough. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, that's the sixth thing they've reported flying over y'all's heads. I'm like, yeah, but that's happening to anybody. It was,
a better idea.
They weren't aliens. It was
Instead of a front end driver's cam, why don't we? So I've just noticed Europe does it a lot. Almost every car has a front and rear camera, just because I guess Europeans are horrible drivers and they crash a lot. But they do.
Shame on you. Any kind of Europeans like that.
It's not their fault. They didn't invent the thing. We invented the car. They're just learning how to figure it out. And anyway.
See what I got to put up with, man. Todd,
in America, they're just. I just seen a couple of one manufacturer starting to put front end driver dash cams in as an option. It's not a standard. You have to actually ask requested. Why not always get a sunroof with glass, not the solid kind, but a glass one? Put a camera there.
I did have a camera.
How many times, especially if you have a 45-minute, hour-long commute? If you live I live near the D.C. corridor. I live out near. I'm in Pennsylvania, but I live near a Maryland town called Hagerstown, which is an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes from D.C. However, a lot of people live out this way, and it's cheaper to live. But they get on the highway, and then they all congregate, and it turns into a 3-hour drive from Hagerstown to D.C. for their Monday through Friday commute. It's nuts. Now I forgot where I was going.
He's lost his mind.
Glass.
It's we just keep cameras on the moonroof. So that was our first.
Think about the camera on your sunroof driving an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to and from work. How many UFOs are you going to capture?
And all the time I had with I still got one, so I don't know. Not many. Because a lot of times you're on interstates and stuff like that. They don't really fly on interstate a lot, so you don't get a lot of reports on that.
No, but I mean, these people are flying from out in the, so, this is where the farms are.
So let me ask Todd this. What do you think are the places where most sightings happen?
I hate to sound flippant. Most sightings happen where most people are looking. And
that's true.
The younger generation, unfortunately, doesn't look up much in their daily walks around.
Don't even get me on the Z-Gens, but there are places people will look up because of where they are. Places like national parks.
But looking up, and in a metropolitan area, you look up, you see lights flying around, you think it's an airplane. If you're in a national park and you see something, you might think twice, thinking, well, planes don't usually fly over here. Let me take a little closer look at this. And oh my goodness, this doesn't look like a plane anymore.
So it's national parks, deep water channels, places in our country where there's really deep water channels going in and out of the Gulf, the oceans. For some reason, they're seeing a lot there, both above the water and below the water. There's lots of
submarine canyon type places like off New York where the Hudson seems to have a submarine canyon.
It's so you see them, and then every now and then you'll hear them. Well, it was a Navy cruiser just recently reported 2 underwater bogies after an attack on a ship in Venezuela, and they reported seeing them. And they said, guy said that according to the command watch, they were doing at least 90 knots underwater.
Wow.
That's 90 knots on top of the water, underwater. That's I don't know.
That is not a cartel submersible.
No, that's serious.
I don't even think our Seawolf goes that fast.
I don't know, but it's cruising.
There also, Todd, Joe, maybe you can help out because you know the guy that did the mapping. There are several good maps. When I earlier on in the middle of the 70s, kind of early in my beginning I've been researching this. Mike Farrell, I forget his character, but from the actor from MASH, hosted a live. It was like a marathon thing, like the PBS Marathon for Money, but it was on UFOs, and it was like a 2 or 3 hour thing. They did a couple things. They did a survey of what kind of aliens they thought were visiting the planet, and they had they had quite a good few speculations, but I have lost my train of thought again.
Yeah, it's because you're talking too much. That's why.
It was the same show where they had the Emenager from the
yes.
Disney about UFOs. Okay.
It was like in the 70s. Yeah, it was like the late 70s, early 80s. He was still on MASH, I think, at the time, and it went out live on like ABC or CBS. But I forget what my point was. But anyway, I think I had a good point.
Again, because you've been talking too much.
Yeah, I do embellish a little. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, shut up. Let the man talk. I got a quick question for you though. It's always curious to me that when we have mass sightings, that like in Phoenix, okay, a lot of people live in Phoenix. There's about 13,000 people seen it. What, like 2.5 million? I'm like, okay, what happened to the others? And then you've got the Mexico City sighting, almost 1 million reports. It's a city with 22 million people in it. Where was the other 21 million at? And in Mexico City, they were, in Phoenix, they were too. They were on TV talking about this thing up in the sky. And some people saw it and some didn't. It's always been the thing about the UFO field that's always drove me craziest is you can have people standing next to each other and 5 can see the damn thing, 5 can't.
But also, you can have those same 5 people standing next to each other, each with a camera, and 5 people will get it on their camera, and the other 5 people will not get it on their camera. How does that happen? How does that happen? Yeah.
I already know.
Well, one of the things I did in the course of my research, and having had a lot of experience dealing with folks in the UAP community, even went to Contact in the Desert a couple of times presenting research. And I got very familiar with how things are described on the aviation side of the house versus their side of the house. And I put together a glossary where I tried to explain things that are common in, let's say, in aviation, so that anyone not in aviation can understand. And picking and choosing what words from the other side to put into the glossary. I haven't put it in a publication yet, but eventually it will. So what do you put in there? For example, consciousness. Consciousness is always being talked about in some circles, but not within aviation circles. So if you were going to give a short description of what is consciousness that an aviation person could understand, that's what goes into the document. I will say this. I did put my own term in there that I use all the time. A bridge too far, which in this world, what was a bridge too far last year was not a bridge too far this year, for example.
That's true too.
Is that the one with Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan Kenobi in it?
Alec Guinness was in it, 77 movie. And
yeah, I know. It was sarcasm. I'm sorry. I'm a movie buff. That was just supposed to be a joke. Yeah, Bridge over River Kwai versus a Bridge Too Far. Well, if you put them both together, if a Bridge Too Far over the River Kwai, it would be a 12-hour movie, but it would be an excellent movie.
I've seen the Bridge over the River Kwai several times. Always found it fascinating. Bridge Too Far, I thought I saw once. I don't want to see it again. So
that's why you mix it with the Bridge over River Kwai, and then it makes it a better movie. Like I said, it's a 12-hour film, but it's better.
Now let me ask you this: last week, when David Grush mentioned sentient plasmoid beings, was that a bridge too far, or not quite a bridge too far?
No, that was a bridge too far.
No, actually not. We've spoken about these types of beings on this show quite a bit, and we were
in the steps of the Capitol to the public. For the first time, that's the first time I heard that phrase.
The man. I've already told Nancy Mace this. I want to, because see, when I went to testify, I actually asked if I could send someone to Quantico to a polygraph, because I do, like I said, I do voice just so I don't have to if anybody's guessing what I'm saying is true or not. I've actually requested that he be polygraphed. He refused.
He refused voice.
First off, most importantly about this guy, he is a spy. That's what he does for a living. And all of his information is either second or third hand information. None of it.
I think it's third plus to begin.
And I got a lot of friends. I have a class 10 security, definitely higher than his. And the thing about it is to just look at it this way. So if we were flying to space, and every other craft we launched crashed and we lost our pilots to some weird aliens, how many times
it would stop?
I mean, really, according to them, now we know that the aliens, because of ancient writings, have been coming here a long time, or at least the crafts have been coming here a long time, because frankly, there wasn't nothing flying in the skies more than 300 years ago. Anything after that, you have to question. And there was lots of stuff in the skies before that. So we know they were here. Yeah. So I want to know where all the rest of the spacecraft were that crashed. There's some in Russia.
Well, they think there's like 50 craft.
Bullshit. Yeah. I cannot believe a race that can conquer time and space is going to crash every time they launch. And every time they launch. And then the problem for them is is there's 5 basic types of craft that we track. There's a bunch of little subtypes, probably drones and probes or something, but there's really only 5 basic crafts. There's the saucer, there's the elongated saucer, where it looks like somebody grabbed a saucer, just kind of stretched
it out. Yep, like a meatball.
There's the orbs, the big orbs, and the rectangle one. I forgot what they call the other one, and the big triangles, and that's how you know the difference when you see a triangle, if it's ours or theirs. Our triangles are
flat.
Well,
Theirs are pyramidal.
It's not that so much as ours size wise are maybe the size of maybe a big jet B-52, maybe a little bit smaller than that. Theirs are the size of freaking cities. The one reported in Tampa covered the entire 5-mile island, completely covered. They got that on videotape too. The news guy did.
Yeah, but they're also not flat. They tend to also have structure on them. They look kind of more like the F-117 from the silhouette than the TR-3Bs do. TR-3B has nothing on top or bottom. It's just it's a bar this way, but if you get underneath it, then it becomes a triangle.
When did the Tampa event happen?
Oh God,
huh?
This was 89, 90, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
it was. It's not even the first. So it was actually around the same time as the Belgium sightings were going on, and the one sighted over that city in Belgium that the F-16s reported was bigger than the city, and the city was 4 square miles. So we're first off, and I don't like being rude to people, but we have no technology where we could put 4-mile anything in the air and flying around, or else we'd have aircraft carriers flying in the skies right now. We don't possess. It's not that we don't possess the technology to get up there. We do. We don't possess the power sources to do it. And and we may in the near future, hey Dolly, but we don't at the moment. We don't. And if we do, it's something they keep secret. So
yeah, oddly enough,
what the hell?
And oddly enough, people may not realize this. Our
what was
US
that? Wait,
government.
tell it, Jay. What are you saying, Todd?
I'll be right back. I got a dog I think wants to go outside. Let me attend to him and I'll be right back.
Somebody, David.
While he's doing that, I'll just remind the audience something that you may not be aware of is our U.S. Navy and our U.S. Air Force have been working on a few weird things and have in the past. One of the things the Navy I think it has to be the Navy. I don't think it's the Air Force. The Navy is right now actively designing, for all intents and purposes, the Avengers flying aircraft carrier. It can float in the water, and then when they want to, they can launch it into the air and fly it in air. They're working on that. And that's not a boast. During World War II and post World War II, the U.S. Navy had plans to not only build a submersible carrier, it's a submarine that would come up, open a deck, launch planes, close the deck, and then submerge so it can't be, sacked by fighters, and then later on would come back up to the surface, open its deck, and recover its planes. They also worked on, and Joe found this out. I didn't know that. I just found a paper my father wrote. They also were actively looking to invent not only an underwater aircraft carrier, but one that launched and recovered its aircraft from under the water. We don't have that kind of technology. So that's something you have to be aware of. And Todd, you just got back. I don't know if you heard about that, but I found a paper my dad wrote, and then Joe and I tried to look at it and figure it out. It's gobbledygook to me. I'm not a scientist, but it was titled something about the underwater signature of an aircraft. And Joe did some quick research while we were on the show talking about it, and it seemed like the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Navy, was going to build a submersible aircraft carrier that launched and recovered submersible aircraft.
But they've got right now, they've got what we would consider a flying sub. So there are 5 subs that I know of that carry these. These are drones that can be launched. There's a piece that opens in the front of the sub, and they can launch drones out of it. About half the size of a Reaper drone, and they can carry a nuclear payload. It's those aren't even that classified anymore. A lot of that.
But I think what you found out though was that they were trying to do a manned underwater.
Well, yeah, originally it was, but it was. You can't make it stealth. That's why they didn't do it. It had too big of a displacement.
Okay, yeah.
Because they're going to put 4 reactors in and drove it. They just had too big a displacement. Gene. So Gene Phillips, where you at, Gene? You're in Miami. Hey, Miami. Wants to know, do you have a favorite UFO sighting? Or what he asked was, let me rephrase the question. Actually, what he asked was, do you have one that really sells the fact that it might not be ours, but it might be extraterrestrial.
Oh, Phoenix Lights for sure, because even if you think that, like you were saying before, even if you think we could build something that flies like that, we can't build something with that size that can fly.
Oh, hell no, yeah. That thing was as big as an aircraft carrier, wasn't it?
It was big.
Way bigger.
Yeah, so Lynn
Way bigger?
Yeah, well, Lynn Kutai, who's one of the primary witnesses of it, she's a good friend of ours. Been on the show many times. Like Leslie Keene has as well. But the thing of it is she lived on the mountain. She was like 2/3 of the way up the mountain. So she was more looking at it straight on than she was like looking up at it. She said it was very weird. She said it definitely wasn't flares, Joe. She said you can see on my camera, she's got video of, you can see on the camera there's no movement like this. It's just straight across level movement. You know, whatever it is moving all at the same speed at the same time. There's no smoke trails or anything like that. She's got good footage of it. But she said she couldn't really tell how big it was. She said from her point of view, it was half the size of Phoenix, if not bigger. Because part of it was already over the mountain where she lived. And the other half was still over Phoenix.
The other reason I call that my favorite one is the following. That happened, what, 97?
Yeah.
If it were to happen tonight or tomorrow or anytime, any populated part of the world, there would be thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of videos and photos taken immediately, hundreds of which would be online within seconds. And there'd be no way that you could dance around the fact that something was there. Because, you know, AI did this well. If you have multiple people with multiple different platforms with different technologies taking pictures of the same thing.
And angles, yeah.
And angles. Then you can say there was something in front of the camera. You can't say that it wasn't there. You can't say it was AI. You can't even prove it was like, you know, from another world. You can say somebody, a bunch of somebodies saw something, and there's corroborating information that this was at the same place at the same time and probably happening to everybody simultaneously.
So the problem with all this is you can't really get good footage. We've seen quite a few things where there's been a lot of footage. So if you're more than a mile or 2 miles away, most cameras aren't going to really get a good picture. And if you're any closer than that, you're going to get buzz or fuzz. Anybody who's usually if it was inside the mile range, whatever the crash propulsion system is, messes with electronics. It just messes with phones go out, digital watches, everything goes out. Gene, in all fairness, dude, I hate to say this, I haven't seen a digital watch since like '99. I'm not saying they don't exist. I just haven't seen them. That's all I'm saying. But the regular watches run backwards. All kind of weird stuff happens around it, which could be a whole host of reasons. Nobody really knows what drives the things, but you do see that a lot.
This is my digital watch. This is a analog KGB Moniya pocket watch from Russia.
What do you mean, Monique? Why aren't the YAP videos blurred? Because most of the time the pilots are several miles away. They're not that close. You have to remember what kind of speeds these jets are flying at, and these other things are flying at. You know, these are fighter jets. Fighter jets don't go through the sky at 50 miles an hour, my friend. Even on a bad day, they're at least Mach 1.
If you didn't know, Dr. Todd, I happen to be, even though I have a great American accent, I'm ex-KGB.
I'm calling him on extra.
Oh no, I'm legit. I'm just like that guy that they say shot the president. He was able to walk back and forth between Russia like he was going across the Mexican border like it was nobody's business. Yeah, right. You don't do that unless you're a goddamn spy. Oh, pardon my French. I'm sorry.
What, Jesse?
Are you implying that Lee Harvey Oswald was not just a lone patsy?
No, what I'm saying is Lee Harvey Oswald was not only the lone patsy. He was well informed of, if not 90% informed of everything that was going on with that assassination device, but he was a spy. There's no other explanation. You do not.
If y'all want to know what happened to Kennedy, all you have to do is go read Crossfire.
Marry a woman there and then bring her back over in 2 years like nobody's business. They didn't even go through immigration. It automatically gave her a green card and put him back in Texas on the payroll at the depository. That's spy. There's no other explanation for what he was. He was a spy. He may not have been a very smart spy or a very good one, but he was a spy.
Again, people, y'all want to know what happened to Kennedy, just go read Jim Mars' book, Crossfire.
Yes,
Well,
Jim Marsden was almost all of it.
Yeah, Jim Marsden was one of the greatest ufologists ever to live.
I'm happy that the Dealey Plaza area still has many of the original buildings and whatnot. And of course, the street is
Very
still
well preserved.
very well. And someone took the liberty of putting 3 X's on the roadway so you can stand right where the bullets hit and see for yourself what the perspective was.
Yes.
And whether you believe it or not, the official story, if you ever have a chance to go to Dealey Plaza in Dallas, check it out. Come to your own conclusion.
The one thing that I find amazing that really didn't change that much is that there's a new video called Mortal Error or Fatal Error. Bonner Menninger, I think Michael Donahue or Walter Donahue. They have a very good theory on the entire event. But what I found cool in their investigation is, and they had this old DEA type cop from Australia who did the main cold case investigation. The light post that holds the traffic light where the car turned underneath was the same post, same pole. The lights had changed, the actual physical lights hanging off of it, and there were some sunshades around the original light posts that were there, or the light bars that were there. So that's changed. And the tree that was in front of that is the same tree. It just got bigger, taller, and wider. So that was fascinating to find out that at least that one reference point hasn't changed. The pole itself hasn't changed. The attachments, the equipment on it has. Not much you can do about that. Things fail, but that was interesting information. And I think this movie was around 2015.
I still don't know what the fascination is. I got to be honest. I still don't know what the fascination is. How many years has it been? No.
Coming on to see, it was 63. So it's 3 years older than me. So it'd be 60.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to have the year before, like 9 months after that. Jesse, yeah. He's not there. Him and Marilyn just went home. It doesn't work. They just went back from whichever they changed. Yeah, it's just like a Men in Black.
So if you're interested, Todd, Mortal Error, Bonner Menninger, Walter Donahue, it's fascinating. Their theory is, I'm behind it. I've been that's one of the things besides UFOs and Bigfoot that I've been researching for 40 plus years is the JFK thing. I was 10, 11, 12, 13. I don't remember how, when the video of the first what's his name, Zapruder film came out in 73 on that Spanish guy's name. We make fun of him all. Oh, Geraldo. I saw it live on his show, and I was like, it came from behind. I knew right away, and I didn't even know anything about guns, bullets, or ballistics back then. But now I do. So.
No, that's what happens when you start putting the mob in jail, man. They kill your ass. It's what is that, Frankie?
You threaten your daddy's buddies in the mob, you go into a.
Anyway, we don't. This ain't a Kennedy show. We can talk about that another time. Was that my dad?
Back to one of the other favorite things, not favorite things, why I think it should be treated as an aviation safety issue. One of the reasons is disclosure doesn't matter. What if disclosure, as is conceived right now by the general public, the U.S. government comes out and says the truth about UFOs or UAPs? Okay. Would that explain, assuming that what they're saying is true and that there are things flying around that are not ours, would the government know all of them? Would the government have kept tabs on everybody? Would everybody want to go out of their way to contact the government? These would still be out there. And one of two things. Either they understand aviation well enough to get out of people's way, or they don't. Until we know whether that's true or not, we've got to assume that it's going to remain a hazard, more so than the average airplane. Also, most of the reports that are out there usually resolve in one of 2 or 3 buckets. 1, something identified later on. 2, not enough information to make a decision one way or the other. 3, definitely anomalous, but nothing we can characterize. And 4, a player to be named later. So,
but the FAA did a report on this. They said you were more likely to die from a pigeon hitting the engine than from collide with the UFO.
Well, the FAA can say that, but the FAA might be looking at this from a less general perspective than you and I. For example, let's assume they're looking at it from an object perspective. The danger is not just being hit by something or having it hit you. there could be danger of you reacting in such a way that's not the standard procedure, and as a result, you put yourself in danger.
Yeah.
I was taught within a few weeks of learning how to fly. You're flying along, see somebody coming right at you, make a right turn. Why? Because the other person was taught make a right turn. So if this is coming like this, boom, you both make a right turn. But what if you forget your training? And turns out not
do a left turn.
You do left turn, or you don't do any turn at all. Well, if only you forget your training and the other person didn't, you'll probably be okay. But if both of you forget your training, all bets are off. So
what if the other person's from another planet and has different or no training?
Well, let's assume that there's somebody who has no sense whatsoever in the other aircraft. You don't know what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. The only thing you know is what you can do. So rather than guess what unsuspecting thing the other person would do the thing that is a standard procedure unless you have a compelling reason not to in real time. So if nothing else, getting people to stick to whatever standard procedures they have. For example, if you're supposed to be doing X, Y, Z during flight, you see something really fascinating. Don't stare at that and forget to lower the landing gear and do the other things. Aviate, navigate, and communicate.
Yes, but they are distractions. Go ahead, sir.
They are
distractions. And to your point, Todd, it's we can only go by our example. You go on a car, go driving. The other cars have markers on them, so you know relatively which direction they're going. If you're good, if you've been driving a while, my first few years, I've trained to become a policeman. So I'm really, really good. I can, standing on the side of the road or driving, I can guess your speed on your car without a radar device within 5 to 10 miles an hour. So it's observation, number one, is like you said, but there are telltale signs on all of these vehicles that say which direction we're going, relatively how fast, which is the front of the vehicle, which is the back, which is the left front. And then if we're going to change direction, there are other telltale signs that do this is that. And so you can kind of sort of have an idea, even if you're flying with our flight planes, we have navigation lights. Trained pilots can see, oh, that plane's coming right at me. And he's like at the same level. I better turn left, turn right. You have a way of doing an external system, like let's say UFO alien spacecraft flying in our airspace. We need to know where they are. They need to know where we are. They may know with their technology where all of our planes and cars and trains and automobiles are at all times. We don't know where they are. Dolly says they can outmaneuver us. Yes, they can. What we don't realize is that they're being piloted by biological creatures. Okay, they're vastly more experienced at things than us. They're way more advanced than us. But they're a biological creature. Do they have distractions? Do they have a cell phone problem? Do they, could something in the craft distract them? Oh, what's over there? Bam, you hit an airline.
I would bet you money any craft that moves as fast as they do is mostly flying.
Probably so. But to Todd's point, we don't know. We don't know what they have. We don't know the safety protocols they have. We don't know how advanced they could be. In Star Trek, there's the Pakleds. They're an unadvanced race that steals advanced technology, uses it for themselves, and then tries to say, we are smart. When you fix our stuff, we must go. We need to go fast. We don't know that's the situation. They could be, mentally retarded compared to other aliens, even us, and have this technology. Todd is exactly 100% right. We don't know who's controlling it. We don't know their safety protocols. They don't know our safety protocols. Cars can sort of communicate with each other with lights, horns, signals. Planes have radios and control towers, so they can actually talk to each other. Trucks and tractors and trains have radios. They can talk to. We don't need cars have cell phones. You can't use a cell phone while you're driving. There's the communication in there, but we don't have the communication with these other systems, and that's where the danger is. We don't know. You might want to go, oh, there's a UFO alien. I'm going to turn left, and that alien's like, oh, I'm going to shoot this way really fast. Bam, there's your collision.
But what you do have the communication control over is within the cockpit. The classic crew resource management techniques, which basically says the crew acts as a team. You're not going all cowboy on your side of the aircraft and having the other person doing whatever. It's like, if I'm the pilot in command and I see something extraordinary going on, I'll continue to fly the plane. I might direct the other crew member, take a picture, do a radio report, but I got to fly this plane. Now, that might be as excited as all get out. That might be my only time I ever have a close encounter. But my primary duty is to fly the plane. So I say this, part of the marketing toward this as an aviation safety issue is to treat it like any other safety issue. If you come across the issue, follow a standard procedure if there is one, follow common sense if there isn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, if we go with the French philosopher Voltaire, common sense is not common, unfortunately. I mean, in a way, we can imply that with your philosophy on the external systems, the external alien craft, if they were, or even if they're external military craft, they're not plugged into the public systems, at least not for radar or communications purposes. Again, it goes directly to the safety protocols. If everybody's systems is talking to everyone's systems, then I think we have less problem with aviation aircraft accidents. But you have a completely, and in some cases, completely invisible to the naked eye, invisible to our technology systems, aircraft in our space. I mean, think that just compounds the problem. If they go full stealth and go visibly invisible, and radar invisible, and sonar invisible, and sound invisible, you can't see, hear, or smell them. Bam! Just think about 25 of those craft flying around, airspace with 767 airliners. You are looking at dead people in the air.
Don't worry, Todd. Good.
If you have a situation, you're flying along, you have a situation, you don't see anything, you don't hear anything, but weird things are happening. Instruments going haywire, whatever the case may be. It may not be an accident, it may not be an incident, but it's worth reporting either to your organization or to NASA or to whomever. It's like, hey, I had this series of things happen that I never had happen to me in the air before. It may be UAP, may not be, but that's the very kind of thing that things like safety management systems within organizations and NASA's ASRS was built for. It's not something to be investigated as an accident or incident by NTSB, but it could affect safety. Write it up, send it in.
They should have a reporting center for all of them. Gene, you want to know why I don't think UFOs crash? Like for this reason. How many missions were there between Apollo, Mercury, and Gemini? How many craft actually crashed? 2. How many shuttle missions were there? 145. How many crashed? 2. So you're telling me that we're more advanced than an extraterrestrial race that can build ships that don't even break when they hit the ground. I mean, really, that can do things that we can't even imagine. The closest things we can even come to a UFO is by using a drone because it doesn't have a man. At least we can flip it around like crazy with it.
As far as maneuverability, yes, but other things we can't.
Don't interrupt. Shut up. You've been talking too much as it is. It's yes, who me? I give shit all the time. It's part of my job. But anyway, getting back to that, it's just when you put it in the grand scheme of how the universe works, it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen that way. And the fact that we have sightings dating back 6,000 years makes me kind of go, well, where are all the rest of those crash UFOs that they're sure not flying around on the planet anywhere? So I just have fundamental issue. And then we forget there's different types of craft and there appears to be different types of aliens. So
people start talking, unless people start reporting, just sticking with the aviation side, not even all the other unusual things that happen in the paranormal. If you start having people writing in on a regular basis, like, hey, I'm flying on a jet from Hawaii to the West Coast, and me and the other guys out here at the same time, we see something weird going on way to the north, well above us, a bunch of lights cavorting around. Now, was it putting them in danger? No. Were they satellites? Heck no, because satellites don't act like that. That's the kind of thing that should be reported. Now, is it a hazard? No. Is it a piece of a puzzle? Yes. Will it be enough to solve the puzzle? Probably not. Here's another analogy. All of you know about lightning. We know well enough to stay away from it. And even after 100 plus years of close observation, satellite, whatever, there's no scientist who can predict exactly which cloud will have the next lightning bolt and where it's going to hit. But we still know enough to keep ourselves out of trouble, whether on the ground or in the air. That's the kind of risk management that I think is necessary for UAP of all kinds.
Well, and I think also to Joe's point and your point, their level of technology, their craft probably, and most of the technology probably aren't affected by natural phenomenon, lightning, lava, hurricane. They could be sitting on the ground in the epicenter of a earthquake, and the ground falls out behind them, and nothing would happen to them. They're to that level. Now, can their craft be destroyed? Yes, because we heard about the battles in space between several ETs. Yes, there's technologies that can destroy their craft. We don't possess them. Crashing into our planet from, say, outer space, like a space shuttle, would their machine break up? Maybe a little bit. It would certainly get dents and dings and dangs and scratches and whatnot. Wouldn't be pristine. It would obviously have looked like it crashed. Now, if they were traveling at our planet at the speed of light and lost control, or the pilots on board suddenly died and there's no autopilot and they hit the planet, well, guess what? That ship is going to keep on going, and there's going to be a big ball of dust where our planet was when it goes through it. So their stuff is fairly indestructible, but we just don't have a level of technology to where we can affect it to make it crash.
To help with this point, we have tungsten rods sitting in space right now. I've had them up there for about 20 years now.
Yeah, 30 years.
Nice, big, huge tungsten rod. So you can drop one of these from space. It's equivalent to about 10 kilotons when it hits.
Is this the rods from the gods idea from the 80s?
Yeah, well, actually, this one was called Thor, and it was just simply called Thor. And then somebody later on updated it to the hammer of Thor. I always thought that there wasn't no real evidence, and then we ran into somebody who actually knew about the program. There are, last I heard, 60 of these rods in there now. They said the first time they ever launched one, it blew a hole in the ground about 1.5 miles across, and the rod was still intact, pristine looking when they came to get it back. I was like, you're crapping me, right? So recently, the Air Force and the Navy got together and dropped one. Sent the I forgot what is it, the DR3, whatever that thing is that DARPA's flying around. Sent it up there to drop one down, a new type, to see what it would do. So they dropped it in the ocean. The damn thing created a little mini tsunami of 40 feet. It was like, they were like, uh-oh. So now we have a weapon that leaves nothing behind but destruction. No chemicals, no powder, no radiation, just flat out destruction, which I guess is better than a neutron bomb, which just irradiates everything and leaves everything intact. I don't know which way you want to go there. It's or of course there's always the standard typical nuke. But then these reports, and this is what I'm waiting to see, and I've actually requested this from the governor on several occasions. I want to see the reports on the silo bases that were shut down. We know it's real. We know enough people, generals, have come forward now to say that this happened. We also know it happened in Russia. I want to see the paperwork on it. I want to see where some general in the Air Force come in and said, holy bleep, 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 this bleep over the top of this bleep, nothing's working. I want to see it. And so far, they just recently, what's that guy, the secretary, not the secretary, it's Markio, I can't think of his name, Steve. He said they were not.
Hegseth.
No, not Pete. They said they weren't going to go back no more than 50 years. I said, well, wait, no, you've already released stuff older than that. And they said, no, we're not going back any more than 50 years. And then some other guy came out, some senator, and said they're going to go back 60 years. But that was it. They weren't going back any further than that. I said, well, I guess we'll have to just wait and see. I don't know. Nobody would give it. It's the government. They don't ever give you an explanation. They just tell you they're going to do it. I mean, really, they're frustrating sometimes. Go ahead.
Given that there have been reports, credible reports, I actually saw Robert Salas in the flesh when I was at Contact in the Desert. It's likely that any country that has silo-based nukes has had this happen. Yep. We're talking China, Russia, I believe France has some, and whomever else might have some on the side, like North Korea. What's to keep one of them from talking about it? I'm sure they'll be just as embarrassed to have this happen to their stuff, where their missiles go offline. They have no reason to figure. They have no way to figure out why.
Well, Putin actually fessed up, and Putin went one step further than the U.S. did. Putin said they stopped, was it a typhoon in its tracks under full steam. They were doing simulated surface and launch, dive and launch. He said as they were doing, he said they were cruising along at full steam, which I have no idea how fast a Russian sub goes. It's just cruising. They said they come up for the secondary launch. They come up, they open the things, and the boat just stopped. He said it was typical like out of a movie. Big blue light came over. The doors would only open halfway on the ballistic missiles, and the ship just would move. And he said, even if the engines would have just died, we were under steam. We should have cruised for a little bit, He said, but we just stopped. He said, but there was no sudden josh or jerk or anything. He said the boat just stopped. I was like, well, that sounds like aliens to me, but still, at least when they put the report out, Putin actually admitted that it was a real report.
And I believe the posted speed of the Typhoon class for the public was 26 knots at full speed. I do believe the actual top secret speed that our Navy's found it was probably around 36 or 40 knots at max. They're very similar to our Seawolf. Our Seawolf class was designed specifically to go after those boats.
What was that you're saying, Ty?
Well, remember that picture that came out a few years ago of some triangular thing taken out of a periscope of one of our submarines in the North Atlantic somewhere? I never saw any report or any analysis of that to say whether or not that was a nice fake, a regular balloon, or something else.
I only heard that one time, and it just seemed to stop. I don't want to say it disappeared. It just seemed to. Sometimes reports just have this thing where even if they're true, it's like they hit a wall. There's not enough behind it to launch a serious investigation. I mean, we have. Yeah,
it's a good photo. I think they were maybe doing a test with the TR-3B to see how it's silhouetted against the night sky over no continents or no cities. So if it was significant enough to block out enough stars, so you'd be like, oh, look at that, So maybe that's what they're doing. It didn't seem really. No one said it was UFO or alien. It didn't make a lot of hullabaloo when it first came out. When I first saw it.
Well, because it might have just been one of the portals anyway. So people forget a lot of times when they see the black triangles, they think it's a craft, but it's not. The ones like the one seen out by Stennis NASA facility, where they see them saucers coming in and out of it all the time. What it looks like is it's just the only reason you even know it's there is because it's the absence of stars. It's the same reason sometimes the TR3s, the big ones when they're coming over, the only reason you know they're there is they're blotting out the stars. Whatever these are, they've been seen over Fort Pike in Louisiana. They've been seen out in San Diego. These are just big black triangles in the sky. They're not ships. They're definitely some type of portal. And whatever, and you can tell they're not designed for small craft. They're designed for big craft. Whatever these things are not open enough for some little tiny ship. Now, there is one that we actually took, Todd, in Blunt Island, Florida, over a power plant. So there's a picture of this power plant. Right above this power plant is what looks to be like a dropa stone. Is the best way I can describe it. So it's sitting there. Well, it's invisible. You don't see it, right? The only reason you seen it was there's a little trickle of smoke coming out of the smoke tack of the power plant. And it must have picked it up and it was wrapping it around it. So you could actually make out the design of this thing. Well, everybody looked at this. It was on Coast to Coast. They were having a great time with it. For 5 weeks, no one realized that in the picture was a UFO going up to the thing. No one's seen it because it was right on the side of the tower. So it looked like maybe it's like something sticking off with two lights or something, but it wasn't. When you put a picture up, it was some type of craft, and it was headed right for the center of this thing. And we were all like, really? I mean, we're investigators. We should have read this. I mean, usually I'll take these things. I got a big 70-inch TV, 75-inch TV that I pop everything up on. We got all kind of software we use. And then I got a lot of friends like Bruce McAfee and all who do this for a living. They do this kind of stuff. You can see some great things. Dean, what are you talking about? When they say plasma aliens, they must be talking about light beams. I don't really can't conceive of any other ones, and I don't really see them hanging out on Earth much. I can see Gray's reptilian junior. I mean, reptilians have been being talked about in our history since Mesopotamian time and Sumerian time. So I mean, no. And then the stupid reptilian but the reptilian with the purse thing in its hand is seen in 7 cultures, including in the New World. I don't know. It's things like that make you wonder. And then Lloyd Pye's alien skull that they now know for sure, half of it's not from Earth. Well, originally they were going to say it was a hybrid. It was some type of human and some type of subspecies of human or other species of human. But they found out that the DNA they can't recognize the mitochondrial DNA. So they're not willing to say it's alien, but they can't say it's human. Oh, you found it, yeah. Is that blown up? Scroll down.
That's the big one, and then the blow just below it. Let me go over here and see if we get any.
Yeah, this is on one of the websites.
Bigger. Yeah, this is iCar website. All right, so, so over here is this smokestack.
Right.
And you can't see the smoke from this picture. It's kind of a blow up. And the smoke goes up over this way. And then you see this,
right?
Which in the blow up, their structure here, you can see like 4 little things. There's a circle in the middle. There's structure to whatever that invisible object is.
And it's big because it's over the power plant. You can tell the size of it because of the power plant. And then right there,
it's the size of 2 carriers.
Yeah. So, and then right there next to that stack, you'll have to show them, Jake, because my pointer won't work on your screen.
Oh, yeah.
Right, midway down, and you can even see it's tilted and pointed upward right there.
Yeah, I see it.
And no one actually, for some reason, everybody thought it was connected to the tower in the beginning, but you can clearly see it's not.
There's a separation there.
And you can see the size difference because it's not very big, whatever it is. It's big, but it's not real big, not compared to whatever this thing is in the sky. That picture was taken, and when the picture was taken, no one saw anything.
Yeah, and look at the angle. When these things move.
But look how big this thing is.
This is going to be the direction of travel once it turns all the way sideways.
What bothers me about this, Todd, is one, if it wouldn't be for the smoke, we wouldn't have known it was there. Let's just be honest. We got lucky.
Not whatsoever. None. You might have known about the smaller one.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
The big one, you've never seen it.
But you know, we have a rule in the organization: if we're near deep water channels, certain types of military bases, and national parks or power plants, we always take
nuclear power plants, particularly.
And the reason why is a lot of times we catch stuff. And we don't know why they're in these places. I'm sure there's a whole host of different reasons, and we have some reasons, but it's weird that we catch them like that. So people always tell me, how can you find a UFO? Well, there are ways. They do reappear in places. Gulf Reef, Florida is a good place to go hang out. But there's a forest down there, a little further down towards on the other side of Mexico Beach, that has regular sightings on a regular basis. And then there's other places, right there near Eglin Air Force Base, where they see grays on the beach, and where people have lost weeks and then come back. It's just so weird down there. I noticed after Katrina slowed things down. Weeks.
Let me
I know we got to get out of here, but let me tell you about this real quick, because I was invited down to Pensacola to meet this couple. My wife and I went down, and they said they had been abducted by aliens. And I'm always skeptical when people use the abduction. So it's just natural to be skeptical. You know, why do aliens want to probe us? But anyway, we went out, had dinner, and they told me all about their experiences, which was fascinating. And then at 6:30 that morning, I get a phone call. This woman is frantic, screaming, hollering, all kinds of shit. What happened? I think they took us. Like, okay. She said, no, you got to come over. So I get up, get a cup of coffee, get a biscuit on the way. I get there. This woman's hair on her legs is this long. I just seen her the night before. She was clean shaven. We got pictures. Because that night at the dinner, they took a picture of the 4 of us. He's clean shaven. She's clean shaven. His freaking beard is like this. So I said, well, you got to go to the doctor and see if there's anything that's like spontaneous hair growth. Well, no doctor could come up with an explanation why, but all of them agreed it was at least 3.
Because there's no such thing as spontaneous hair growth.
But the doctor said it was at least 3 weeks of hair growth. He said it might have even been more. And he was asking the guy about it. Of course,
what kind of doctor?
He was a specialist in it. They had it started with
dermatologist, maybe?
No, it wasn't a dermatologist. It was something else. He was a specialist in the way hair works. He was actually referred to us by somebody at the hospital. And he was fascinated by it because he's seen the pictures. Fortunately for us, someone else, we had to pay for the pictures. So someone else took the pictures, and they were time stamped and day stamped. So you can clearly see at 11:50 the night before, both of these had, or basically he's smooth shaved, she's smooth shaved. Next morning, 6 hours later, not even that, 5 hours later, and this is what we get. I don't even know what you do with a case like that. I mean, it's fascinating, but we had other cases where it seems like there's some kind of sketchy time thing going on. Lady in Florida got a ticket. It said 10:10, but she didn't leave her hotel until 11 p.m. And what's funny about this, so the hotel people, we talked to them. They said, yeah, they left about 10 minutes to 11. But people at 7-Eleven said, yeah, we seen him about 11. There was 4 people working there in the middle of shift change. They would recognize him, apparently, because they were talking about UFOs. And then they left and they went parked down this road, walked out to the beach. So it should have been about 11:30 or something, 11:20 or something. The ticket said 10:10, so I called the dispatch for the local police, the sheriff, and I said, "There's got to be something wrong here. I got the video of these people leaving the hotel." He said, "Were you trying to get out the ticket?" I said, "No, I'm just trying to find out why it's got this timestamp." He said, "The cops think does it automatically. It's hooked to their system." He said, "If that's what it says, that's what time it was." So I called. He said, "Well, you know what? Call dispatch and they can tell you." I called dispatch. He pulled up the computer. It was 10:10 when he wrote that ticket, and somehow he got it inside the car between the seats because the car was locked. And the other weird part about this, they didn't even find his ticket for like 3 weeks after this event. So you've got all this tape. So then we said, all right, we're going to go back and look for the car at the hotel at 10 o'clock. Guess what? The car wasn't there. But there's no picture of them ever coming out of their hotel rooms to get into the car. I don't know what to do with them. I mean,
real quick, though, clarify that video. There's you said before that it's the car's on the video, and then it's there, and then it disappears with no one there. So
when we first looked at the video, we looked from 10:34. The car was there. Okay, but when we seen the timestamp, we went back and double checked, and we went from 9:50 to 10:20. Well, around 9, somewhere between like 9:01 and 9:03, the car was just gone. There's no video of anybody getting into it. We got the hotel. We even got the hotel. We got an affidavit from it. So it's signed and stamped. The thing of it is they're great cases, but what do you do with them? It doesn't prove anything. It just proves some kind of weirdness went on.
Camera glitch, power outage.
The only explanation, of course, is they say they were taken by aliens. So taking people at their word is a hard thing for me. It's not an easy thing. Even though the evidence
was corroborative evidence.
Yeah. But we got 144,000 cases on file. We got 66,000 members. That's a little bit different, but we got to get. I mean, we're probably into the boss lady's time now.
We are into the boss lady's time.
Todd knows the boss lady, man. She's tough. She's sweet to you because she's the host. But she's the boss. I had this lady who was so funny the other day. This lady said, "I'm calling you boss and getting you fired." I said, "Her name's Michelle DeRoche."
I remember that.
She goes, "You're not worried." I said, "No." She said, "Why are you not worried?" I said, "Because I own the station. She can't fire." "Oh, well, I'm not listening anymore." So we have that right. Because we host.
I had a lovely conversation with your boss the other night. I hope we informed and entertained the crowd.
Oh, no, y'all were great. I actually went back and listened to the show because we kept getting off topic. And I actually want to listen to y'all show because I had some stuff I wanted to answer. I can invite you back so we can get into it. I just won't let you have no coffee. We'll take the coffee out the way. And, but there's I'm always fascinated with anything aviation. I mean, that was my background in the Navy. So, and I still pay a lot of attention. Matter of fact, I teach a course.
I neglected to ask you. You used to work on the deck of the carrier. What kind of hearing damage did that give you over the years?
It's funny you said that because when first day I got on the carrier, this old guy comes out of nowhere. He's a chief petty officer, like a cranky old bastard. He said, "I'm gonna do you a favor." He goes, "I'm gonna do you a favor." He said, "You can't hear these pieces of crap anyway, and you really can't. That's why I got all the hand signals." And he said, "So I'm gonna do you a favor." And he comes out here with these little cotton balls. And he stuffs in these little leather things. He pulled it. And he stuffed them in my ear things. He said, "Okay, you'll be all right." He said, because he was extremely hard hearing. I mean, so he said, he would anybody who had to be on the flight line more than an hour, he would do it for him because it was rough. I mean, you're standing and all you hear the whole time. Always somebody's jet's going off, and if that's not something else is going on. And, it gets. I've seen a couple of people get killed when I was on the deck. The worst one I seen was actually in a hangar on base. Some guy got his foot caught. He forgot to put the pins in the injection seat, and he got his damn foot caught in the thing getting out the thing. And pulled him up and smashed him into the top of the cannon. It was not a pleasant thing to watch, I'll tell you all that. But aviation's a dangerous business, and like Todd was saying, somebody needs to be monitored. Chris, no, we'll invite you back on because there's a bunch of stuff I wanted to get into that we can get to, but it's because the U.S. has the equipment right now. We don't even need the equipment. We have cell phone towers, so we can set a little dish on every cell phone tower in the United States and a couple of off-road towers, and we can monitor the whole entire sky if we want to. Technically, we already do this in a low frequency way because we need to know if there's any missiles or other things coming into our thing. That's why it's so interesting with the technology we have that today that ET can still sneak in here. Because we have radar, we have crazy radar, we have radar that'll melt you if you get in front of it. I mean, we've got some serious stuff, and yet still they can sneak up in here. But anyway, I have to get with you and get back on with us when we get into a little more in depth. Really, because I was listening to your show last night. There's a couple things we didn't talk about tonight, but we can talk back in the future. Daryl, no, we got to go. Why? What's up? What UFO? Oh, yeah. Okay, real quick. The F-16 pilot. So he contacted a friend of mine at MUFON. And MUFON was scared to talk to him. MUFON didn't like anything that might be military related. They still don't. And anyway, we got the referral. He basically said, which was creepy, he said they would scrambled out to go check this thing out over the city in Belgium. They fly out there, 6 of them, F-16s, by the way. They fly out there, they get up there. He said, we pull up, there's 6 of them. He said, there's 3 here, 3 here. He said, every other pilot didn't see the damn craft. He said, Joe, the craft was at least 4 miles across. There ain't no way you didn't see it. He said, it's impossible. It was lit up like a freaking tree. He said, it was black on the bottom. So if you're looking at it from the bottom, he said, you didn't see it much. And it had a ledge. He said, but if you were on the middle or above it, it was lit up. And he said, he said, of all the commands, he said they actually, NATO gave them command to fire. They said, wait till it passes and gets over that. There's a big field coming up to fire. As soon as they said that, 3 of the craft just lost control and started spiraling downwards and managed to bank out. And once they got a certain way away from it, they took off again. The engines came back on. So I guess that was enough for the other 3 guys because they turned around and he said, the guy came back in and said, you're ordered to fire. He said, I'm trying to fire because I'm scared they're going to blow me out there. He said, nothing's working. He said, I'm pretty sure if they wanted us dead, we'd already be dead. And he made it official.
Let me also make a speculation here. The 3 pilots that didn't see it were the wingmen. The 3 pilots that did see it were the pilots, or the lead pilots, and the ones who veered off were the wingmen, and the ones who were not able to veer off were the pilots. Yes,
I don't know. It was freaky.
That's probably how it went down.
But there were over 500 people in the city that night that reported this thing, and then these pilots. And NATO actually has an official report on it.
There's a report from the ground of the pilots, the planes skittering off course.
No, only the pilot talked about that. There's nothing else. Basically, what it says.
Corroborative.
Basically, no, because we got to go. But basically, what it says is, UFO encountered. Turned out to be nothing. Reported back to base. Uneventful. Of course, what else are they going to report? They're not going to report. But they had it. Well, so you had the ground witnesses, so that helped. But that's still not enough. But when the pilot came out, when he retired, he came out. He didn't even retire. He just came out and said, "No, this is what happened." And it's funny because there was another pilot there with him, and the guy behind him kept going. He wouldn't say anything, but he kept going. You can see his face. It was like, yeah. I was cracking up. So you get a good idea. But anyway, Ty, you were great. I had a great time with you tonight. Can't wait to have you back. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to get out of here because I'm sure Michelle's thinking about what she can hit me in the head with right about because, at 10 after, we're not getting to our audience because I help give her audience. But at this point, we're actually taking away from her audience. So she's doing some voodoo raven spell on us right now or something.
Ouch. She just pinched me with a voodoo dog.
I'm
Time to go.
Michelle DeRoche, the boss. Anyway, thanks again, guys, for tuning in. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Of course, as I say every week, any moans, groans, bitches, or complaints, feel free to write to Michelle DeRoche. She loves to hear from you. Good, bad, or indifferent. Write her. Tell her hi. You think she's doing a good job. She works hard to bring good hosts in. Remember, people are always looking for a good podcast. And to ask your question earlier, Gene, it's rare that we offer free podcasts anymore. Every now and then we do if somebody has a really good show or a certain amount of audience. But now, because we offer TV on Roku, Amazon, Apple, Samsung, Google, and OSI, it's hard to just not. Plus, there's some other stuff we do now. We have specialty audiences, places like Jakarta, Buenos Aires, and things like that. But anyway, again, thanks everyone for tuning in to United Public Radio. I hope you all enjoyed the show. And we will see. Well, Jay and I will see you Friday night doing the actual real news. Yes, we might speak in UFO. Usually, it's
Friday's going to be a big night.
You know, because what do you mean? I love Trump and I hate Trump all at the same time. It's like, yeah, I can't. This guy, if I make it through this term, I'll be good. Yes, my heart to prove how strong my heart is. No, anyway, we're not getting into that. You know, we don't talk about that in this show. Good night, everybody.